The story is set in the 1930s. In the old days like the 20s and 30s, pocket watches were the most common type of watch. These watches were generally of the mechanical type and used a crown stem at the side of the watch case that can be pulled out and turned to wind the watch and regulate its timekeeping. Most of the watches required winding every day, otherwise they stopped running. The first digital watches were developed in the early 70s, but they didn't become widely used until the 80s and 90s.
A strange kidnapping.
I haven't the faintest idea why I was kidnapped,
Said Johnson to Professor Fordney, an hour after he returned home.
I never miss Sunday evening services, you know, so I'm afraid I haven't much time to discuss it now.
Oh, just a brief account of your experience is all that is necessary,
Remarked the professor. So Johnson proceeded.
I was walking along Burnham Street about 2 a.m. Friday, when two masked men, with drawn guns, ordered me into a blue sedan. I was blindfolded and gagged. After driving for about an hour, I was led into a house, and down some stairs to a small room, where they removed my blindfold and gag. They took off my outer clothing, and hung it on a chair. Then they questioned me at length, about the Shirley case, and refused to believe I knew nothing of it. Exasperated, they threatened to kill me, and when I remonstrated, one of them hit me on the head with a blackjack, and I went down unconscious. The next thing I knew was when I came to with a terrific headache. I lay still for a few minutes and, hearing nothing but the ticking of my watch, I cautiously got to my feet and groped for the door, as the room was in darkness. Before I could locate it, two men, still masked, entered, turned on the light, apologized profusely for the treatment I had received, and said they had mistaken me for someone else. Then they gave me something to eat, blindfolded me again, and drove me to within a block of my home, still apologizing for the mistake. Before I could remove my blindfold, after getting out of the car, it had sped away. It's all very mysterious to me. I can't make anything of it.
I won't give you away, Johnson.
Smiled the professor.
Your wife undoubtedly believes your yarn, but you'd better think up a better one the next time.
What flaw did the professor find in Johnson's story, which proved the kidnapping was a fake?
The professor found that Johnson's story was flawed because he claimed he was kidnapped shortly after 2 a.m., but then returned home an hour before the Sunday evening services, which would have been significantly less than the amount of time that Johnson said had passed. This showed that Johnson had not actually been kidnapped, but instead had been sneaking out for a reason unknown to Professor Fordney.
Had Johnson wound his watch immediately before 2 a.m. Friday, the time of his alleged kidnapping, it would not have been running Sunday afternoon, when he recovered consciousness, and said he heard it ticking. No standard make watch will run 60 hours without winding. This act is an ancient tale new told, being urged at a time unseasonable. Shakespeare.